Welcome. Today we are going over shelving pointers, or where do the books go on the shelf. What is the importance of accurate shelving? Well, you have a patron who comes into the library looking for a particular item. They check our catalog, they find an item that they want is checked in, and the patron and staff is able to find the item quickly and easily because of accurate shelving. All of this equals one happy customer. You can tell quite a bit about a book by its cover. Some things, such as the title, right there on the front, the author, also right there on the front, and most importantly, when it comes to shelving, is the spine label. Now, what else can this spine label tell us, and why is it so important? Well, the spine label tells us where the book belongs in the library. It tells us what section of the library, but also where on the shelf that particular book goes. And all this is told by the spine label and the call number. What is a call number? Well, a call number is similar to the address for a book. Every book in the library is given a particular call number, which is made up of the Dewey Decimal Classification and the cutter letters. And like a mailman delivering the mail to the right house, when we shelve books, we make sure our books wind up in the correct address on the shelf. The spine label is made up of the Dewey Decimal Classification. For fiction, it would be letters, and for nonfiction, it will be numbers, as well as the cutter letters. In our library, the first three letters of the author's name make up the cutter letters. We will go over in another session a little bit more detail on both fiction and nonfiction sections in our library. So how do you shelve a book? Well, first you would check the call numbers around the items being shelved for the location on the shelf the item goes. Once you've placed the book in its proper location, all items should be brought to the edge of the shelf. This is also known as blocking. If an area is too full for you to shelve properly, you will need to shift the books to make room. Each shelf should have a bookend at the end of the row if it is needed. We try to leave 1 to 2 hand widths at the end of the shelf for additional books. Sometimes this is not possible. If you're not sure, just ask. Do not guess where you think the book will go. It makes for many lost books and difficulty finding. Some shelving rules. All fiction is shelved alphabetically. Now, as I indicated earlier, the Dewey Decimal Classification is letters, followed by those cutter letters. You would first file alphabetically by the author's last name, then by the author's first name, then by the series, if applicable, and finally by the title name of the book itself. Nonfiction is filed first numerically by the Dewey number, then alphabetically, starting with those cutter letters by the author's last name, the author's first name, then the title of the book, and then volume numbers, such as encyclopedias would have volume numbers. What is blocking? Blocking is when you bring each book on the shelf out to the edge so that all the books are lined up looking neat and tidy. Most of the time when you go to shelf, the shelf will not be blocked already. So once you're done shelving your book, it would be your job to block the shelves. You can block the shelves in the entire section at once if that makes things easier. Shelf reading should also be done while shelving. Now, shelf reading means reading every call number in the area to make sure everything is in proper order. This will ensure that the areas with the most users are kept tidy. It's a good way to find missing items, things that are not shelved in the correct section. So while you are shelving, you will shelf read that area when you are done. Shelf reading always needs to be done. There may not be any items to shelve, and if that is the case, you will do shelf reading in section. There is a log on the work counter for keeping track of what areas have already been done and what areas you have done. Shelf shifting. If there are too many books on a shelf, you will need to shift. We shelve books from left to right, then down to the next shelf, left to right, just like reading the pages of a book. When you get down to the bottom of the section of shelves, or bay as it is called, you resume shelving at the top of the next bay. And then again, left to right, shelf by shelf. So when you need to make room for books, you would take the books at the end of this shelf, shift them to this shelf, move them down, and so on, creating almost a Z-like pattern. Things to keep an eye out for when you're shelving. Books that have fallen behind the shelves, books that have fallen on the floor, piles of books that are just kind of shoved into places, or crowded shelves where you may need to shift. Most important thing is to make sure that all books in that section belong in that section. Remember, it is always better to shelve one shelf correctly than 10 shelves quickly and incorrectly. When in doubt, just ask. We'll be more than happy to help you. Enjoy your time volunteering.